Hello and welcome back, dedicated UPSC aspirants, to your daily briefing. This is the deep dive for April 25th, 2025, part 1. We're here to help you stay ahead by, distilling the most crucial info from today's sources. Our mission, as always, is efficiency, getting you the key takeaways quickly. Now, some of these topics might ring a bell. We might have touched on them before, so think of it as a good chance for revision, really lock in that understanding. And hey, if you find this helpful for your prep, please do give us a like and subscribe for more of these deep dives. Today, we've got quite a mix for your UPSC syllabus. We'll be looking into dark matter, some newly discovered fish species, the ALH Dhruv helicopter, an important legal doctrine, heat waves, lipids, a hydro project in Nepal, a healthcare commission, the Indus Water Treaty, and even Vatican City. Quite the range. Let's jump in.
All right, let's start big, cosmically big. There's some fascinating news coming out of the Indian Institute of Astrophysics, the IIA. They've been looking at this galaxy, NGC 1052 DF2, and, well, it seems to be missing something pretty major, dark matter.
Missing dark matter. That sounds odd. Isn't it supposed to be everywhere, holding things together?
Exactly. That's why it's such a puzzle. So maybe we should quickly recap what dark matter actually is, for anyone needing a refresher.
Good idea. So dark matter. It's this invisible substance, right?
Yeah.
We can't see it because it doesn't interact with light or electromagnetism at all.
Precisely. But we know it's there because of its gravity. It makes up a huge chunk of the universe, about 27% of the total mass energy.
Wow, 27%. And the normal stuff, stars, planets, us, that's only about 5%.
That's right. So dark matter is incredibly important. Think of it like invisible scaffolding across the cosmos. It provides the gravitational structure that allowed galaxies like our own Milky Way to form in the first place. It influences how they rotate, how they move. It's fundamental.
And because it only really interacts via gravity, that's why it's dark?
Exactly. It doesn't emit, absorb, or reflect light. Now, scientists have ideas about what it could be, things called WIMPs, axions, maybe even machos, like black holes or old dead stars. But we haven't directly detected it yet.
Okay, and how does this differ from dark energy? We hear that term a lot, too.
Good question. They sound similar, but they're totally different beasts. Dark energy makes up even more of the universe, roughly 68%. It's thought to be linked to the vacuum of space itself, and unlike dark matter, which pulls things together, dark energy has this repulsive effect. It's actually pushing the universe apart, causing its expansion to accelerate.
So one pulls, one pushes. Got it. But this galaxy without dark matter, does that mean dark matter might not exist after all? Or maybe our understanding is off?
Well, the scientific consensus is still strongly in favor of dark matter existing because we see its gravitational effects everywhere else. But this finding, if it holds up, is definitely a challenge. It might mean galaxy formation is more complex than we thought, or perhaps our definition of dark matter needs refining. It's a real head-scratcher.
Definitely food for thought. Okay, let's shift from the cosmos down to Earth, specifically the Western Ghats, some exciting biodiversity news.
Yes, indeed. Scientists from ICAR-NBFGR, that's the National Bureau of Fish Genetic Resources, have identified 2 brand new species of freshwater rohu fish. They're called Labeo uru and Labeo Chekida, found right there in the Western Ghats. It really highlights what an incredible biodiversity hotspot that region is.
2 new species. Where exactly were they found?
So Labeo uru turned up in the Chandragiri River. Apparently its name comes from its dorsal fin, which looks a bit like a sail. And Labeo Chekida was discovered in the Chalakudy River. It's a smaller, darker fish, and the locals actually call it Kaka Chekida.
Interesting. And this wasn't just finding something unknown. It actually cleared up some old confusion.
That's right. It seems there was some taxonomic mix-up going back, believe it or not, about 150 years with another species, Labeo nigrescens. By looking closely at the physical features and morphology, the scientists confirmed these are definitely distinct species. It just shows how vital this kind of research is for understanding and conserving biodiversity, especially in places like the Western Ghats that face so many pressures.
Absolutely critical work. Okay, let's switch gears to defense and security. There's news about the Indian Army's ALH Dhruv helicopters.
Yes. Reports suggest the Army has resumed limited operations of the Dhruv, specifically the ALH Dhruv, in the Anantnag area. This follows the tragic terror attack in Pahalgam. You might recall the entire fleet was grounded earlier this year after a crash.
Right, I remember that. So for our listeners, what is the ALH Dhruv?
Okay, ALH stands for Advanced Light Helicopter. It's an indigenous chopper developed and built by HAL Hindustan Aeronautics Limited. It's a twin-engine utility helicopter designed to be really versatile, multi-role, multi-mission. Development started way back in '84 with some initial German help, first flight in '92, and it entered service around 2002. It's certified for both military and civilian use.
And what makes it so capable? What are some key features?
Well, it's got quite a few advanced systems. The twin engines are key for safety and performance, especially at higher altitudes. It has a modern glass cockpit, with digital displays. The design includes crash-worthy features. It uses composite materials for the rotor blades, which helps with weight and performance. Plus, it's got things like chaff and flare dispensers for self-protection, a helmet-mounted sight for the crew, and it's specifically designed to operate well in high-altitude environments, which is crucial for India.
And you mentioned the grounding. What was the background there?
Yeah, unfortunately, the fleet was grounded back in January 2025 after a crash near Porbandar, which sadly involved fatalities. That triggered major safety reviews. Before that, HAL had significant orders, like 73 units back in 2017 for the Army and Air Force, the Mk3 and Mkfi versions. It's even been exported to Nepal, Mauritius, the Maldives.
So the resumption of limited flights suggests they've addressed some immediate safety concerns, at least for critical missions.
It would seem so. They likely implemented specific checks or modifications needed to get some essential operational capability back, especially in a sensitive area like Anantnag. But the full picture of the safety review probably isn't public yet.
Understood. Okay, let's pivot to the legal world now. There's this term, parens patriae, that came up in a Bombay High Court case recently.
Yes, that's right. The court used the parens patriae doctrine to appoint a daughter as the guardian for her mother, who was suffering from severe dementia and couldn't manage her own affairs.
Parens patriae. Latin sounds important. What does it actually mean?
It literally translates to parent of the nation or parent of the country. It's a legal principle where the state or the court acting for the state can step in and act as a legal guardian for people who can't take care of themselves.
So like minors or people with severe disabilities or illnesses.
Exactly. Think of vulnerable groups, children, individuals who are incapacitated mentally or physically. The doctrine originates from English common law. Its core purpose is protection. It allows the state to safeguard the welfare and interests of those who lack the capacity to do it themselves.
Where else do we see this principle applied today?
Oh, it pops up in quite a few areas. Juvenile justice is a big one, where the court acts in the best interests of the child. Mental health law relies on it heavily for involuntary commitment or treatment decisions. You also see arguments based on it in consumer protection cases, sometimes even environmental law. The idea of the state protecting resources for future generations. It's quite broad.
And how does it fit within India's legal system?
It fits very well, actually. It strongly reflects the constitutional commitment India have to protect the welfare of its citizens, especially the vulnerable ones. Indian courts have consistently invoked parens patriae in various contexts over the years. This Bombay High Court ruling is just a recent example of the state fulfilling that protective duty. It's a fundamental aspect of the state's responsibility.
Very clear. Okay, from legal principles to something very tangible right now, heat waves. The IMD has issued alerts.
Yes, orange and yellow alerts are out for several regions, including places like Delhi and Uttar Pradesh. And given we're in late April 2025, this is peak season, unfortunately.
Right. So what exactly qualifies as a heat wave? Is it just a really hot day?
Not quite. It's more about a period of unusually high temperatures compared to what's normal for that specific location at that time of year. The threshold isn't the same everywhere.
Ah, so it's relative. What are the criteria the IMD uses?
Okay, there are a few ways they declare it. For the plains, the maximum temperature needs to hit at least 40 degrees Celsius. For hilly regions, it's 30 degrees Celsius. Then they look at the departure from the normal temperature. If it's 4.5 to 6.4 degrees above normal, that's a heat wave. If it's more than 6.4 degrees above normal, that's a severe heat wave.
Okay, so departure matters. Any other criteria?
Yes. There's also criteria based on the actual maximum temperature reached. If it hits 45 degrees, it's declared a heat wave, regardless of the departure. If it hits 47 degrees, it's a severe heat wave. And there's one more condition. Even if the temperature is, say, 37 degrees or higher, if it's also 4.5 degrees or more above the normal for that area, they can declare it a heat wave too.
So multiple factors involved. When and where do these typically hit hardest in India?
The main season is March to June, sometimes stretching into July before the monsoon really sets in.
Yeah.
The core heat wave zone covers a large area central, northern, and parts of peninsular India. Think Rajasthan, Punjab, Haryana, Delhi, UP, MP, Odisha, Vidarbha, coastal Andhra, Telangana. It's quite widespread.
And what drives these extreme heat events?
It's usually a combination of factors. Large high-pressure systems can settle over an area, trapping hot air. Then there's the background warming trend due to climate change, making everything hotter on average. And sometimes larger weather patterns like El Niño can play a role. The forecast for 2025 did suggest potentially very high temperatures, above 44 degrees in some places.
A serious issue indeed. Okay, let's move into biology. We're hearing more about lipids challenging the old protein-first view of evolution. Tell us about lipids.
Right. Lipids are often just thought of as fats, but they're much more diverse and absolutely essential. They're basically fatty or waxy organic molecules, mostly hydrocarbons. They're everywhere in the body, in your blood, in every single cell. They're fundamental building blocks.
What are their main jobs, beyond just storing energy?
Oh, loads of jobs. They're a key structural part of all cell membranes. Cholesterol is a famous example, providing stability. They do store and transport energy very efficiently. They're also needed to absorb certain vitamins, the fat-soluble ones like A, D, E, and K. And they're precursors for making crucial hormones like steroid hormones.
And chemically, they don't like water, is that right?
Exactly. They're a nonpolar, which means they're hydrophobic. They don't dissolve well in water. But they do dissolve in other nonpolar substances. Think oils and fats. Dietary sources include things like fried foods, animal fats, butter, cheese, cream.
Can you give examples of different types?
Sure. Triglycerides are the main storage form of fat. Steroid hormones like testosterone and estrogen are lipids that act as signals. Bile salts, made from cholesterol, help digest fats. Fatty acids are used for energy. And then phospholipids and cholesterol are crucial for building those cell membranes. Phospholipids form the main barrier, kind of like gatekeepers for the cell.
So, essential, but imbalances can cause problems.
Absolutely. Your body makes most lipids it needs, but things can go wrong. Too high levels are called hyperlipidemia. Too low is hyperlipidemia. High cholesterol is hypercholesterolemia. These imbalances are linked to major health issues like atherosclerosis, plaque buildup in arteries, coronary artery disease, and high triglycerides or hypertriglyceridemia.
Just to be clear, are all lipids made of fatty acids?
Mostly, but not exclusively. And yes, generally hydrophobic, not water-soluble. So think fats, oils, waxes, some vitamins, hormones, and those vital cell membrane components. A really diverse and critical group of molecules.
Got it. Very important. Okay, let's turn to a major infrastructure project. The Arun-3 hydropower project in Nepal. India's involved.
Heavily involved, yes. The Indian Minister for Power and Housing Affairs recently visited the site. It's a big one. A 900-megawatt run-of-the-river project on the Arun River in eastern Nepal.
900 milliW, that's substantial. What kind of construction does that involve?
Pretty significant engineering. There's a concrete gravity dam about 70 meters high, then a long tunnel, nearly 12 kilometers, called the Head Race Tunnel, to carry water to the powerhouse. And the powerhouse itself is underground, housing 4 large turbines, each 225 milliW.
And the funding. You mentioned Indian assistance.
Yes. The cost is around 144 billion Indian rupees, with significant Indian financial support. When it's finished, it's set to be the largest hydro facility in Nepal.
Who's actually building and running it?
It's being developed on a BOOT basis, build own operate transfer. The company is SAPDC, which is the SJVN Arun-3 Power Development Company. SAPDC is a subsidiary of India's SJVN Limited, which itself is a joint venture between the government of India and the Himachal Pradesh government.
Okay, BOT. So SJVN builds it, owns and operates it for a while, then hands it over.
Exactly.
Yeah.
SAPDC operates it for 25 years after construction, which is expected to take about 5 years. Then ownership transfers completely to the government of Nepal.
What's in it for Nepal during those 25 years?
A significant benefit. Nepal gets 21.9% of the electricity generated completely free of charge throughout that 25-year operational period. Plus, it obviously boosts their overall power supply significantly.
And for India, beyond the investment return.
India gets access to the surplus power generated, which helps meet our own growing energy demands. It also strengthens economic ties and cooperation with Nepal. There's a dedicated transmission line being built to evacuate the power from Tulkabar in Nepal to Muzaffarpur in India. It's a win-win, strategically important project for both countries.
Makes sense. All right, let's talk about healthcare regulation. The National Commission for Allied and Healthcare Professions, NCAAHP, what's the news there?
The Union Health Ministry, working with the NCAAHP, has just launched new competency-based curricula for 10 different allied healthcare professions.
NCAAHP, is that a new body?
Relatively new, yes. It's a statutory body, meaning it was set up by an act of Parliament, the NCAAHP Act of 2021. Its main job is to regulate and standardize the education and practice of all allied and healthcare professionals across India. Think physiotherapists, medical lab technologists, occupational therapists, psychologists involved in healthcare, and many others.
So the main goal is improving quality and setting standards.
Precisely. The aim is to ensure that these professionals meet national standards of competency and conduct, which ultimately improves the quality and safety of healthcare for everyone.
What are its specific functions? What does it actually do?
It handles the registration of these professionals, sets standards for their training programs, and accredits institutions offering these courses. It also evaluates existing programs to make sure they're up to scratch. Plus, it promotes continuous professional development, acts as a central source of information on standards, and contributes to research and policymaking in the allied health sector. It's about bringing structure and quality assurance to a really vital part of the healthcare workforce.
Seems like a much-needed initiative. Okay, shifting now to international relations and a very sensitive topic, the Indus Water Treaty. Reports suggest India has suspended it.
Yes, that's the news circulating. India has reportedly suspended the Indus Water Treaty, or IWT, following that terrible terror attack in Pahalgam, which killed 26 civilians. This is potentially a major move in India-Pakistan relations, especially concerning water sharing.
A huge development. Can you remind us what the IWT is?
Sure. It's a treaty signed way back in 1960 between India and Pakistan, brokered by the World Bank. It governs the sharing of waters from the Indus River system that includes the Indus itself, plus the Jhelum, Chenab, Ravi, Beas, and Sutlej rivers.
And how does it divide the waters?
Essentially, it gives control of the three western rivers, Indus, Jhelum, and Chenab, largely to Pakistan for unrestricted use. The three eastern rivers, Ravi, Beas, and Sutlej, are allocated to India for its exclusive use.
But India can use the western rivers at all.
Yes, but only in limited ways. India has allowed certain non-consumptive uses, like for domestic purposes, some agriculture, and crucially, run-of-the-river hydroelectric projects, but under very strict design and operational constraints specified in the treaty.
And the overall split in water volume?
It worked out to roughly 80% of the total water volume going to Pakistan and about 20% to India. The treaty also set up the Permanent Indus Commission, PIC, with officials from both sides to meet annually, exchange data, and try to resolve issues.
And this reported suspension is directly linked to the Pahalgam attack.
That appears to be the immediate trigger cited in the reports, yes. It marks a significant departure from India's approach over the past 6 decades, where the treaty largely held despite numerous conflicts and tensions.
What could the consequences be, particularly for Pakistan?
Potentially severe. Reduced water flow from the rivers controlled by India under the treaty could hit their agriculture hard, affecting crop yields and food security. It could impact their hydropower generation, leading to electricity shortages. There could be significant economic fallout and possibly increased internal pressures within Pakistan. For India, suspension might be seen as exerting pressure or potentially allowing faster development of projects on the western rivers, though the full implications are complex and potentially destabilizing for the region.
A really complex and concerning situation. Finally, let's turn to Vatican City. We heard the sad news about Pope Francis passing away.
Yes, Pope Francis passed away at 88, just a day after his Easter appearance. A significant moment for the Catholic Church and the world.
And Vatican City itself is quite unique, isn't it?
Absolutely unique. It's the world's smallest independent nation-state, tiny, just 0.49 square kilometers. It's located in south-central Europe, entirely within the city of Rome, Italy, on the west bank of the Tiber River.
A country within a city, an enclave.
Exactly, an enclave within Italy. No rivers or lakes of its own. Its significance, of course, isn't its size, but its role.
Which is?
It's the headquarters of the Roman Catholic Church, the physical location of the Holy See, which is the Church's governing body led by the Pope. The Pope, as the Bishop of Rome, exercises spiritual authority over Catholics worldwide from there. It was established as an independent state by the Lateran Treaty in 1929, specifically to ensure the Pope could exercise this universal authority freely, without interference from any secular power.
How does such a tiny state function financially?
The Holy See gets income from various sources.
Yeah.
Voluntary contributions from Catholics globally, sometimes called Peter's Pence. Also, income from investments and revenue from selling Vatican stamps, coins, publications, museum tickets, things like that.
Then the famous landmarks.
Oh, absolutely. St. Peter's Basilica is the most iconic, built over the traditional tomb of St. Peter. It's one of the largest churches in the world. Then there's the Vatican Palace, where the Pope resides. And of course, the Swiss Guard, in their colorful uniforms. They're the world's oldest continuously operating military force, solely responsible for the Pope's safety. It's a place packed with history and significance, despite its small size.
Incredible. Well, that brings us to the end of this deep dive. We've certainly covered a lot of ground today.
We really have. From the mysteries of the cosmos with dark matter, down to new fish in the Western Ghats, defense tech, legal doctrines, climate challenges like heat waves, the basics of lipids, big hydro projects, healthcare regulation, complex water treaties, and the unique status of Vatican City.
And as always for your UPSC preparation, seeing how these different areas, science, environment, law, international relations, governance, how they all connect is really key. We hope this discussion has given you plenty to think about. Maybe do some follow-up reading on areas that caught your interest. And here's something to ponder as you go. Considering all the interconnected issues we've touched on today, what single area do you think will pose the most significant challenges and perhaps opportunities for India in the year ahead?
A great question to reflect on.
Definitely. And if you found this analysis useful for your UPSC journey, please remember to hit like and subscribe to the deep dive for more. Thanks so much for tuning in.